The bond between an adult mother and her child is a really special, amazing thing. The result of millions of years of evolution. That desire, that amazing protective response that mum has, is designed to ensure that we survive as a species. Eagles have the same instinct, but their treetop nests are small and the fledgling grows really big really quickly. When Mother Eagle decides it's time to go, she gives the baby fledgling a big nudge over the side of the nest. In that moment, either the fledgling eagle's going to have a really, really bad day, or he spreads his wings and learns something amazing, that he can fly, that he's an eagle. So John, how old were you when you left home?
I was 22.
What was your family situation like at that time?
So my dad died when I was 8 years old, and my mother was often very ill. She was asthmatic and all that sort of thing, so she sort of struggled to bring us up. There's 3 kids, I was the eldest. And so I guess I stuck around a bit more than I might have if I'd had a more sort of regulation family, whatever that was back then.
Yeah. So you made the choice to leave, or your parents were pushing you out of the nest a little bit?
No. I think my mum would have been happy if I'd stayed at home, but I just got to that point where I was spending all my time away from home anyway, you know.
Some human mums, though, never get that courage to push Junior out into the world, even though that's the right thing that the child needs to be able to flourish. Allowing children to stay at home well past their due date, every domestic need taken care of, pampered, looked after, never having to worry about the challenges of the real world. An adult, treated like a precious child. It's a modern phenomenon. It even has a modern name, a kidult. In this kidult relationship, there's benefits and also some significant disadvantages. For the child, it's a very easy life. Everything they need is taken care of. They never have to worry about washing their own clothes, paying the rent, even where the next meal's going to come from or who's going to cook it. In some extreme cases, they don't even need to work. For mum, on the other hand, having a kidult stay at home means she never has to face the pain of cutting those apron strings. Never has to worry about the pain of seeing her child leave home, suffering in the big bad world. And in some cases, that eternal mothering actually gives meaning to mum's life, to the point where she thinks she's the only one capable of actually looking after her child at the standard that she thinks they deserve. And sometimes mum can even actively intervene to prevent her child from forming adult romantic relationships, because she'd see those potential partners as a threat, potentially luring away her kidult away from that protective grip that she has over them. The kidult parenting means Junior never has to face tough times. Life is pain. Being able to understand and accept that is the key to leading a successful life, being victorious in the battle. So how old were you when you left home?
I was 18.
Was that the right age for you to leave? Would you like to stay longer or like to go on earlier?
No, I think it was. I was ready.
Who made that decision? Was it you or your parents?
No, I did. Yeah.
You know, Hollywood teaches us a lot of things. Some of the romantic movies that we see just aren't representative of what our lives are like. And I think that's the same with the kidult as well. James Bond doesn't need his mum to come and rescue him. If you've been staying at home too long and you've been relying on your mum to do everything for you, then you're never going to be James Bond. So what's going wrong? Is the kidult relationship wrong, and whereabouts does fault lie? I think the first step would be to consider what's a negative kidult relationship and what isn't. All children need to rely on their parents, but the age range of that dependency has been expanding in modern times. For a lot of people, the bank of mum and dad, that potential to be able to stay at home to save the deposit for the house, is the only way that they'd ever get a toehold into the property market. The fact that mum is supporting them to save that money so that they can eventually move out is a sign of a healthy mother-child relationship. Susie, how old were you when you left home?
I was 19, I was 3 weeks off 20 and I got married.
Wow, so what was going on there?
So I think it was just my mum and my sister and I were at home. My sister had got married a couple of years earlier, and kind of 30 odd years ago, that's what you did, right? You got out of home, you got married. So I'd been going out with my husband Gary for probably 3 years. I was 16 and the next thing was to get married. So I think mum was pretty happy.
If you had your time again, or here in 2024, do you think that's the right age to leave home?
I think so, because I'd already been working full time. I was nursing at the time, so I was earning. There was no reason to stay home, and I think you have to grow up sometime, and that was, for me, it was a perfect opportunity. When I look at 19-year-olds now, thinking I was married at 19, I think, wow. But for me, it was right.
So have you heard about this modern day phenomenon of a kidult, of an adult child that's still living at home? Do you have friends or?
Yeah, I have a few. I work with a lot of footballers and stuff that are still at home. Seems like they're milking the parents a little bit, and they don't pay board. I'm like, oh my God. I find that really strange, and I think if it was me, being the perfect parent, not having had kids, I'd be pushing them out. They've got to grow up.
The first question to ask then is, am I actually in an unhealthy kidult relationship? If you're over 40 and living at home, you don't contribute financially to the household, and you've never done your own washing, then potentially you're going to be a kidult. If your child is past uni age and rarely leaves their room, doesn't have a job, has never had a girlfriend, and mum's completely happy with that, then you're probably in a kidult relationship. Pain is what allows this kidult relationship to develop, and also what cements it in place, because both mum and child are getting a benefit from this relationship. The benefit for mum, of course, is avoiding any pain. For some of the mums in this situation, they've had multiple miscarriages, or they've lost siblings at a young age, so they're deeply committed to protecting their remaining children. A life spent under mum's protective and all-consuming embrace is a life half-lived, maybe even less than a life half-lived. It might be comfortable, but it's certainly a life without joy. So what do we do about it then? What do we do about a kidult relationship? The first thing would be to realise that something's going on, and it's not good for mum and it's not good for the kidult. The antidote to pain is joy. The thrill of seeing your children thrive, have important and meaningful lives, and then go on to have the greatest gift of all, grandbabies. The first stage would be to recognise that both mum and child are trapped in the same kidult relationship, and then together to take action to bring joy back into both of your lives. You can start with some small steps. Let him spread his wings by making some small changes. More responsibility. Let him do his own share of the washing. Let him figure out a budget and see what it's like to actually have to live within financial constraints. Start making a reasonable contribution to the household bills. And then, if those steps are achievable, you can work up to bigger steps, like mum helping him to find another place to live. By mum helping him to find the place and move in might go some way to help mum ease the discomfort of cutting those maternal strings. If mum's primary pain, what's kept her in that kidult relationship for all those years, isn't addressed, then it's going to be really, really difficult to make these changes. And in that situation, it might be time to get the support of an experienced family counsellor.